Welcome back to the deep dive. I want to start today by talking directly to you. Yes, you. Take a second and think about that one thing you're currently holding back. Maybe it's an opinion you just swallow every time you're in that weekly meeting. Maybe it's a feeling, a resentment or something that you've never actually said out loud to your partner.
The things we kind of keep in the drafts folder of our lives.
Exactly. The drafts folder. We all have one. We all have these pockets of silence. And if you're anything like me, you probably feel this quiet, low-grade shame about it. We have this story in our heads that hiding equals lying.
It's the cultural script, isn't it? We're always told that transparency is the ultimate virtue. If you're not putting everything on the table, you're being deceptive.
Or worse, a coward.
Or worse, you're a coward.
Yeah, right. We see it as this moral failing. We think, oh, if I were just brave enough, I'd say what I really think. Or if I were more authentic, I wouldn't hide this. But we have a stack of research today that completely flips that assumption on its head.
It really does.
And I don't mean just a little bit. I mean a fundamental rethinking of the biology of why we hide.
It's a complete reframe.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the source material we're digging into, the core argument is that hiding is not deception by default.
Yeah.
It is, and I'm quoting here, a sophisticated survival intelligence.
Sophisticated survival intelligence. I mean, that already sounds a lot better than cowardice. But I do want to push on that a little because doesn't that sound like a convenient excuse?
It could, but I don't think so. Not when you look at the actual mechanism. The sources we're looking at today argue that we need to stop analyzing hiding through this lens of social morality.
Right.
Is it good or bad?
Right.
And start looking at it through the lens of biology. Functionally, what is it? It's protection.
Okay, protection.
At its most basic level, when expression feels unsafe, the biological system just gaucheing, it conceals what would be harmed. It's a shield. And here's the part from the text that I found just fascinating.
What's that?
It says, the body learns to hide before the mind explains why.
The body learns to hide before the mind explains why. Okay, let's chew on that. Because that implies we aren't even making a conscious choice half the time.
Not at all.
It's not like I'm sitting there strategizing, I shall now conceal my emotion.
Exactly. Think about a time you walked into a room, maybe it's a family gathering, maybe a high-stakes meeting, and the vibe was just off.
Hostile.
Oh, instantly. You feel it in your gut.
And what does your body do before you even think a single thought about it?
You shrink. You kind of tighten up.
Yeah.
Your voice probably gets quieter or maybe drops an octave. You literally take up less space.
That is the biology at work. The text points out these specific physiological changes. Your posture adjusts, your tone changes, and what they call emotion compression.
Emotion compression.
Yeah. This isn't an intellectual decision. This is your nervous system scanning the environment, detecting a threat to your social safety, and prioritizing survival over authenticity.
That hierarchy is so interesting. Safety over authenticity, because we live in this, this age of be authentic, live your truth.
But your nervous system doesn't care about your truth if it thinks that truth is going to get you kicked out of the tribe.
Precisely. The nervous system is totally pragmatic. It has a hierarchy. And if being your authentic self means you're going to face punishment or rejection or just destabilization, the body chooses safety every single time. It's not cowardice, it's adaptation.
So if I learned as a kid that being angry got me sent to my room, I didn't stop being angry. I just learned to hide the anger to keep, the attachment to my parents secure.
Exactly. You learned anger equals loss of safety. So the intelligence of your system just said, okay, we'll keep the anger, but we're going to put it in the basement so we don't lose the parents.
Which is brilliant, actually. It kept us safe.
Yeah.
But, and here's the massive but, we aren't kids anymore, so why does this feel like such a problem now? Why does hiding feel so heavy?
And that brings us to the second major pillar of this deep dive. The text says hiding becomes harmful when it outlives its purpose.
When the war is over, but you're still living in the bunker.
You got it. The environment changes, you leave home, you quit the toxic job, but the hiding behavior is locked in. And this is where we get to the concept that I think is the most revolutionary part of this research.
Which is?
The metabolic cost.
Yes. This is where we move away from just feelings and get into actual physics. Because when we talk about secrets, we usually talk about the emotional toll. But the source material uses the word metabolic. That implies energy, calories.
Because it is physical work.
Yeah.
We have to understand that not doing something is an active process for the brain.
Wait, explain that, because it feels like doing nothing. If I don't say the snarky comment, I'm just being silent.
Subjectively, sure, it feels like silence.
Yeah.
Biologically, it's inhibition. Your prefrontal cortex has to actively override the impulse to speak or to act. Imagine you're holding a beach ball underwater.
Okay, the classic beach ball metaphor. I'm with you.
It's a classic for a reason. So,
Yeah.
standing there in the pool holding a ball underwater, it looks like you're doing nothing. You're just standing there. But under the surface,
All your muscles are burning.
your muscles are tense, you're applying constant downward pressure. You have to be vigilant. If you relax for 1 second, that ball is popping up.
And if you do that for 5 minutes, fine. If you do it for 20 years,
You are exhausted.
this actually explains so much. That 3 p.m. crash, or that feeling of being totally wiped out after a day of meetings where you didn't actually do anything.
You were just code switching or holding back. You're running a marathon of inhibition. The source text explicitly lists the consequences. It's not just feeling bad. It's exhaustion, anxiety, resentment, and numbness.
Numbness is an interesting one, because if you're busy holding down the beach ball of, say, anger or sadness, you can't really selectively numb things, can you?
No, you can't. You can't say, okay, I'm going to suppress the grief but keep the joy at 100%. When you compress the system, you flatten everything. You lose the highs right along with the lows.
So you end up living in this kind of gray zone.
Exactly. And the text adds another cost that I think is crucial. Difficulty trusting connection.
Oof. Yeah, this one hit me hard, because it seems obvious, but it's really subtle. If I'm hiding who I really am, and you tell me, hey, I think you're great, I can't really receive that.
You can't believe it. Because there's a little voice in your head going, you don't like me, you like the performance, you like the mask. If you saw what I was hiding in the basement, you would run.
So we trap ourselves. We hide to ensure connection so we don't get rejected. But the very act of hiding prevents us from actually feeling connected.
That is the paradox. You're technically safe from rejection, but you are isolated inside that safety. The text calls this internal division. You have parts of yourself living in shadow. And I love how the author frames this.
How so?
These parts aren't in the shadow because they're evil or wrong. They are there because they were never welcomed.
That is a huge distinction. We assume we're hiding the monsters, but usually we're hiding the soft parts, aren't we?
We're hiding the parts that were deemed too much or too sensitive or maybe just inconvenient.
Okay, so we've established hiding is a survival tool, but it's incredibly expensive. It burns our energy, it numbs us out, and it messes with our ability to trust love. So the logical reaction is, okay, I'm done. Screw the beach ball. I'm telling everyone everything. Radical honesty.
And that is exactly where people get into so much trouble.
I feel like you're about to pull the emergency brake on me here.
I am, because the text warns specifically against this exact thing. There's a massive confusion in our culture between honesty and disclosure.
Okay, lay it out. What's the difference?
So the source defines honesty as alignment with what is true. It's an internal state. It's you knowing clearly what is real inside you.
Got it.
Disclosure, on the other hand, is a social act. It's the external sharing of that truth with someone else.
This is a game changer, so I can be honest without being disclosing.
Yes, you can be fully integrated and honest internally while remaining externally private.
Let's use a real scenario. I want to make sure I've got this. Let's say I'm at a dinner party. The host serves lasagna. It is objectively the worst lasagna I have ever tasted.
Okay.
Honesty is me admitting to myself, wow, I hate this lasagna. I'm not gaslighting myself or pretending I like it. I am aligned with my truth.
Correct. That is internal coherence.
Disclosure would be standing up and yelling, hey, Karen, this lasagna is garbage.
Exactly. And the text argues that you do not owe the world constant disclosure to be a person of integrity. In fact, it warns that, and this is a direct quote, revelation without safety can re-traumatize.
Revelation without safety can re-traumatize. That's heavy. Unpack that for me.
Well, think back to why the hiding started in the first place. It was to protect you from a lack of safety. So if you decide, I'm going to stop hiding, and you take your most vulnerable, fragile part, that beach ball you've been protecting for years, and you just throw it into a room that isn't safe, and you get rejected again.
It just confirms the original fear.
It doubles down on the trauma. The system says, see, I told you it wasn't safe to show this. And the walls just go up twice as thick.
So forced visibility is just as bad as forced silence.
Yes, both are violations. Both lack choice.
This is really important because so much self-help advice pushes people to just be vulnerable, kind of regardless of the context.
Right, as a blanket rule.
And this research is saying, no, assess the terrain first. Do not walk into a lion's den and open your rib cage.
Exactly. Vulnerability is a gift you give to people who have earned the right to see it. It's not some duty you owe to the public.
Okay, so if we aren't supposed to just blur everything out, but we also want to stop paying this huge metabolic tax, how do we unhide? What's the path?
The source material outlines a path, but it's very specific about the conditions. It lists 3 requirements: internal readiness, external safety, and choice.
Okay, let's start with internal readiness. That goes back to the honesty piece, right?
It does. The goal isn't exposure. The goal is integration.
Integration.
Integration means the hidden part is allowed back into the main room of your own mind. It's about ending what the author calls internal exile.
Ending internal exile. I love that image. It's like there's a part of you that's been banished to the wilderness, and you're finally saying, okay, you can come back inside now. You can sit by the fire.
Even if you never show that part to anyone else, just allowing it to exist inside you without shame, that stops the energy drain. You stop fighting yourself.
So the beach ball isn't being held underwater anymore. It's just floating in the pool next to you.
Exactly. And that alone releases so much of the metabolic tension. You don't have to post it on social media for it to be healed.
But what about the external part? If we do want to share, how do we know it's time?
The text says, the self reveals itself when it believes it will survive being seen.
When it believes it will survive being seen. That sounds like you can't trick your nervous system.
You can't. You can't just positive affirmation your way through this.
Yeah.
Your body is smart. It is reading the room. It needs actual tangible safety.
This brings us to what I think is the most provocative idea in this whole deep dive. It's about how we see the solution. Usually, we think the opposite of hiding is courage.
We do. We tell people, feel the fear and do it anyway, be brave.
Right. Courage is being scared but saddling up. We fetishize the struggle. We make it all about willpower.
But the source has a completely different take. And this was the real aha moment for me. The text says, hiding ends not when courage appears, but when safety becomes real.
Wow. Let's say that again. Hiding ends not when courage appears, but when safety becomes real.
I mean, think about the implications that we spend so much energy trying to manufacture courage. We beat ourselves up for not being brave enough to speak up. But the text is saying you were looking at the wrong variable entirely.
It's not a supply side problem, my lack of courage. It's a demand side problem, the environment's lack of safety.
Exactly. If the environment is safe, if you are with people who, in your bones will not attack or reject you, you don't need courage. The hiding it dissolves.
Yeah. It dissolves. It's such a gentler way to look at it. It's like a clenched fist. You can't pry it open by force, but if the hand feels safe, it just opens on its own.
And that is where all that energy comes back. The text says, what no longer needs to hide stops consuming energy. And the result is clarity returns. Presence deepens.
Presence. That makes so much sense, because if I'm not running that background app in my brain, constantly monitoring for threats and suppressing my beach balls, I have all this RAM available to actually listen to you.
You can actually be in the room.
Yeah.
You're not multitasking your own survival anymore.
I think that's the tragedy of hiding, really. We think we're protecting ourselves, but we're actually absent. We're half there.
And the people around us can feel that absence,
So let's bring this home for the listener who's really identifying with this. Maybe they're exhausted. Maybe they realize they've been paying this metabolic cost for decades. What's the takeaway? It's not go tell everyone your secrets.
No. The takeaway is to stop fighting the hiding. Honor it. Recognize it as a survival intelligence that kept you safe when you really needed it.
Stop calling yourself a coward.
Right. Thank the shield for doing its job. But then look around at your current life and ask the question, is the war over?
And if it is,
then you start the work of establishing safety. Find the places and the people where you don't need the shield. Focus on building safety, not on forcing courage.
And focus on that internal integration first. Be honest with yourself before you ever worry about disclosing to the world.
Exactly. And the internal exile. That's the first step.
I want to leave you with a thought to chew on this week. If we accept that hiding is expensive, that it's literally burning through your energy reserves every single day, just imagine what you could do with that energy if you got it back. If you weren't holding the beach ball down, if you weren't managing that internal split, how much more clarity, how much more creativity, how much more life would be available to you?
It's a lot of power to reclaim.
It really is. So stop trying to be brave, start trying to be safe, and just watch what happens. Thanks for deep diving with us. We'll see you next time.